everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mandy and I am a full-time reseller. I do sell on 4 different platforms: Poshmark, eBay, Depop, and Mercari. On today's video, I am going to go over just kind of a handful of sales I've had within the month of October. And I did come prepared this week again with all of my sales, time frame of how long it took to sell besides the bundles. Just a quick overview of sales in general based on platforms. Depop has completely died for me. I don't know what happened. I think we kind of talked about this like towards the end of summer, middle of summer. They were screwing around with their shipping and doing some different things like tweaking their algorithms. I really think that hurt a lot of sellers. I am hearing that from some pretty big sellers on Depop and some casual sellers. So let me know in the comments below how your Depop has been doing. I went from probably like 12 to 15 sales a week on Depop to maybe 3 to 5. And it's weird because it's like I'm not even getting lowball offers or like very many likes. I don't know if they are maybe pushing lower dollar items right now. I've heard that that's something they like to do, that they push the closets where things are like deeply discounted. I personally don't run a lot of sales on Depop because when you do, people want more of a discount. So it's like I just leave it as it is, and then I will send out offers you know, when they're there. For as far as eBay's been okay. I did run a sale. I think it's still going. It's either 30 or 35% off items that I've had for quite a while. I've gotten quite a few sales from that. But I'm hoping that will kind of get me going a little bit more in the algorithm over there since we are heading into, you know, the busy shopping season. Mercari is Mercari. It really depends on if it's busy or not. I would say weekly, maybe 3 sales, sometimes more, and sometimes 0. So Mercari's just there because I feel like certain things that sell on Mercari are things that maybe would not sell on other platforms. It's just a weird vibe over on Mercari. And then Poshmark has been doing well. I would say it's definitely outperforming all of my other platforms at the moment. And that's kind of strange because for a while, Poshmark was like one of my worst performing ones. I really do think it has to do with the shipping and maybe kind of how they have changed their search algorithm. So that's that. So we'll just get into the sales. This was a Baltic Born dress. I've talked about this brand many times on the channel. It does very well for me. Don't pick up everything from Baltic Born. I kind of stick to items that are obviously trendy, things you could wear to a wedding as a guest or a bridesmaid, things for maybe a more elevated dinner party. I don't know that I've ever found like really fun, flirty floral from Baltic Born. I don't know if they're really meant for that. Mainly what I'm finding is it's all one color. It is draped nicely. Maybe it has long sleeves. So this one here is Screaming Holiday. I titled it Baltic Born. It was the Brendan ruched velvet dress in green velvet, holiday size, extra large. It was also new with tags. That helps. Let's see. So this one sold in 3 weeks for $35. Still on Poshmark, this was one that took over a year to sell, which is understandable. This type of item, you definitely need to find the right person that is looking for a vintage like house slip coat. I titled this one Vintage 60s Sheer Mint Tie Front Night Sleep Coat, Lingerie, Lace Midi Half Sleeve. This one was a size medium. It did have 2 little spots on it, but I have such a like soft spot for these vintage like lingerie pieces. I've really kind of like toned down on it just because a lot of the slip dresses for me personally are starting to sit unless they have something like very intricate. They have to have a lot of lace. They definitely need to be longer. I've picked up many shorter ones and those are still sitting. I'm tempted to just kind of pull them all and put them in one big lot as like a reseller lot or a vintage lot, which I think I might end up doing. This one had really pretty like floral detail on the sleeves. It had a lot of lace. It was that mint green. So this one, you know, like I said, it took a year to sell. I'm fine with that. And it did only go for $25, but I feel better about having somebody buy it than for it to just end up in the landfill somewhere. Over to Mercari, this is Shadowline. This was a newer like night sleep coat. This one I titled Shadowline Light Blue Floral Embroidery Midi Short Sleeve Nightgown Sleep Dress. It was a size large. It did have one super teeny small spot of discoloration, and this one took 2 months to sell. For most of what you are seeing, it did come from the bins. If it does not come from the bins, I will try and remember to let you know that. So we're looking at my average cost of goods, probably anywhere from like $1.90 to $2.50. Back over to Poshmark, this was Cleo and Wolf. I know I showed this in a haul not too long ago. This was something I was actually going to sell to Plato's Closet. I don't know much about this brand. It had a Boot Barn tag on it, which I think we might have one of those still in town. I don't think I've ever been in it. So I'm not sure. This one I put in my bin of things to list, and then if it didn't sell within like 2 or 3 months, I would just send it to Plato's Closet. So this one I did title Cleo and Wolf Earth Tone Soho Open Front Cozy Cabin Core Cardigan Size Medium Nua Tags. If it wouldn't have been Nua Tags, it definitely would have went straight to Plato's Closet because I don't think I would have been able to get enough money for it. But since this one did have tags, I thought I could try it, and this one actually sold in 1 week. So it was kind of surprising, but I don't know if it was so much the brand as opposed to like the colors and the style of this. Now over at eBay, this was an Old Navy top. I think the size small, it was new with tags. This one I titled Old Navy Tartan Plaid Peasant Top Red Black Holiday Christmas Top, used top twice. Size small, new with tags. Old Navy is one of those brands I do sell. I don't sell everything. I don't pick up everything. There are very certain things that I will sell myself, mainly being like maxi dresses, some shorter dresses, active wear, outerwear, some tops like this that are new with tags that are more, what do I want to say, like geared towards an event. So like this one is Christmas. Not everybody, but a lot of people are looking for this style plaid for family photos, church, Christmas parties, Christmas, get-togethers. So that type of thing, I feel pretty confident that it will sell. This one ended up selling in 4 months. That makes sense. I would have picked it up back in like June. So we're getting closer to the holidays. This one ended up going for $18 plus shipping. Here's another item that is very Christmas holiday. This was from the brand Liz Claiborne. This one I titled Vintage 90s Red Black Buffalo Check Plaid Wrap Fringe Blanket Skirt Wool Size 6. Any of these skirts that are plaid and wool that have the fringe and it's that true blanket wrap style, I normally always pick up. They do pretty well if you put enough keywords in there. This one was a smaller size, and this one took 6 months to sell, so that would have been like April. Again, that makes sense. I don't know how many people are looking for this style during the summer, but it did end up going for $32. Back over to eBay, this was a pair of Judy blue jeans. These were new with tags. They were the super flare, a size 20W, so a nice size. These sold in 2 weeks. Judy Blue, I've talked about this brand probably a million times on this channel. I know not everybody has luck selling it. My only advice with this, they do have the little style codes, and I think with this brand, it really depends on the style with the size. Certain sizes do better with certain styles. Also, colorways, I think, really kind of make a difference. And also, what the condition is. If it's new with tags, you're probably going to have a better chance of selling it, obviously, for more money. These pair of jeans ended up going for $34 plus shipping. Still on eBay, this brand Charlie B, I've done pretty well with. I think I've only sold tops. I'd have to look back, but from what I can remember, it's only tops. This one I titled Charlie B Brown Black Silk Blend Grunge Abstract Art to Wear Luxury Top Size Large. Charlie B, from what I remember selling, I think it's all been kind of like abstract artsy type looks. This one did go on my coupon code. I do run an 18% off coupon code, sometimes 15%. For the most part, unless I'm running a different sale on eBay. So this one ended up going for about $23 plus shipping, and this was a bins pickup. Over to Depop, this was a vintage skirt from Leslie Faye. I don't know if that means anything. I don't know if that designer or brand is known for skirts like this, but this skirt had plaid, and then the bottom was like a dog hunting. I think it might have had some birds on it or something, like trophies. It was a really pretty, just like landscape scene. That was what drew me to this. I knew somebody would want this. I did look up comps for the brand and the skirt just because I didn't know where to price it originally. So this one I titled Vintage Leslie Faye Dogs Hunting Trophy Cottage Brown Houndstooth Midi Skirt 16. This one had, let's see, over 76 likes, and it did go for my full asking price of $40, and it took 2 months to sell. Back over to Poshmark, this is from the brand The Drop. It's an Amazon brand. I have talked quite a bit about these stores that we have in town. I think we have like 3 or 4 now at this point. That just goes to prove that there is so much stuff in this world that people that, you know, kind of whatever, that they're mad about resellers. There is so much stuff that there are like 3 to 4 Amazon return pallet places just in my town, and that is from people that are sending stuff back from Amazon, stuff that didn't sell on Amazon. You know, it's coming from wherever. So that's just in my town. So imagine how many there are, you know, everywhere else. So that's just a little tangent that I went on. But anyway, I've been going there, and I mainly look for their clothing and shoes, because now Amazon has, you know, a lot of more known brands that you can buy through Amazon. And depending on how the seller has it set up, how it's set up through Amazon, some of the return things just end up going in these big bins, and then they get liquidated out. So they're not actually going back to something. Some brands that I have found in these places, Dress the Population. I just sold a dress that I think talked about a couple weeks ago. Sam Edelman shoes. I found a couple of those still new in the box. I found a whole bunch of new with tag. Levi's jeans. Some of those, I think one pair is coming up later. So it's definitely something that I've been keeping my eye on. The Drop is not like a huge brand. I think it's mainly known as an Amazon brand, but when I scan these things, because you can just scan it with your Amazon barcode scanner, some of these are like $60, $70 for a pair of boots or a pair of heels, which is crazy to me. So I am willing to buy them for $1 or $2 and then put them up here for, you know, half the cost, and people are buying it. So that's a way for me to get new inventory, and it seems to move pretty quickly. These were a really fun pair. They were like a mid-calf, not like a tight boot. They were kind of more loose fitting in a blue velvet, which I don't really find blue that often. They were a size 11, so a bigger size, and these actually sold the next day for $25. This was a bundle deal on Poshmark. This was a vintage American Eagle plaid, like little pleated schoolgirl skirt, a vintage Hollister micro mini skirt in a size 1, and then this, I think it was actually a kid's dress. I thought it was a woman's top when I picked it up from the bins, but when I got home and like looked it over, really looked at the size, I realized it was a kid's dress. But I did put it in as that, but I put in the description that a woman that maybe wore like an extra small could probably fit it as a top. And I believe that's what happened here, because these skirts were pretty small. They ended up getting this bundle for $65. Back over to eBay, this was a pair of those Levi's I just got done talking about from the Amazon return store. I think I only have 1 pair of Levi's left. These were white, which white can be a little tricky, but they were a high-rise flare in a size 29-32, new with tags. They didn't have any marks on them or anything. These ended up going for $36 plus shipping, and they took 3 months to sell. Back over to Depop, this was from the brand 2B BB. I don't know if that was like a spin-off of the brand BB, Bebe. I've heard it's pronounced different ways. This one I use keywords like, let's see, Jersey Shore, party. It looks like my title didn't transfer over to this one, but I'm sure that it had a lot of keywords originally that were like revolved around rave, clubbing, going out, party. That's what this dress is definitely screaming. It's strapless. And this one ended up going for $20, and it took 5 months to sell. Back over to Poshmark. This was an Express romper, but it was a blazer. I don't pick up a lot from Express anymore. It has to be something that's very trendy on, point for something that a keyword could use. This one was screaming office siren. So I titled this one Express Black Double-Breasted Blazer Romper Office Siren Classic Size Small. I don't really know where a person is wearing this because I feel like this is probably inappropriate to wear at like an office because it is pretty short. This was picked up at the bins. It took 3 months to sell and it did go for $22. Back over to Depop. This was a pair of plaid vintage pants. They were more of a relaxed fit. And they were cropped, size 10. These came from the bins, and let's see, it took 4.5 months to sell, and it did go for my full asking price of $23. Would I pick these up again? I don't know. I feel like this was another one that you needed like a very specific person to buy, but they did end up going for $23. Back over to Poshmark. This was picked up at the bins. This is a Maurice's top, one of my favorite brands to sell. This one I titled Grunge Blue Black Silver Studded McBling Biker Cybergoth Short Sleeve Shirt Large. This one had lace details on the side, like these lace panels. Had a lot of studs and sparkly bling on the top. This one took 1 month to sell for $17. These tops, depending on the condition, how much bling is on it, how much design is on it, can go upwards of like $40, but that really depends, like I said, on, what you have. A lot of the shirts that I find like this, I find sell like 15 to 25, but if they are something special, I will mark them up. Back over to eBay. This was a slip dress from BB. This was new with tags. I titled this one BB Black Cowl Neck Satin Slip Dress Classic Party Knee Length Size 1X new with tags. This one also went with my 18% off coupon, and it did take 3 months to sell, and it went for $25. This one actually really kind of shocked me because when I picked it up and brought it home, I was like, I don't know if I should have got this. It came from the bins, so I didn't have a lot into it. It's from Jessica Simpson, which I think that's sold at Kohl's. I might be mistaken. I don't know. I don't know that so many people are like searching that brand out. I picked it up mainly based on style, and I titled this one Jessica Simpson Orange Fall Tones Floral Pleated Maxi Cottage Tie-Back Dress Extra Large. And this one took only 1 month to sell. And I was kind of concerned that I would probably hold on to it for a really long time. This sweatshirt was sitting at the bins. I could hardly believe it, but it was a Lululemon. It was a bigger size, but there were no tags in it anymore. I'm wondering if people just kind of passed it over because the Lululemon was the same color as the sweatshirt. It was just printed on the back on the bottom, and there were a couple grease stains on it, which I was able to get out. This one I kind of measured to be probably like a 1X. I did put the measurements in there and, obviously put that there was no size tag, and this one ended up going in 2 days for $26. I know I showed this jacket in a haul not too long ago. I don't know how I missed all the damage on this coat when I bought it. I did pay $9.99 at Goodwill. I still think it was okay. I titled this one Vintage 70s Penny Lane Jacket Brown Tan Zip Front Hippie Size 16, and then I did put flaws in the title. If there are significant flaws to an item, I will put that in there just in case so that people are hopefully reading something and looking at the pictures, because I feel like a lot of times people aren't doing any of it. I don't know what happened to this jacket, but it was like on the elbows. I don't know if it was staining or if there was damage to like the suede. I don't know, but there was definitely a lot of discoloration on the sleeves. If somebody needed this for like a Halloween costume, or they knew how to fix this or wanted to get it dry cleaned, I figured, somebody would pay some money for it. Somebody did get it for $40. It did take 1 month to sell. I had quite a few lowball offers, which I was kind of tempted to take just because I didn't know how much I could truly get for it. If this would have been in excellent condition, I probably could have gotten like definitely over 100. But since it did have so much damage, 40 is fine. I ended up quadrupling my money essentially. Back over to eBay. This was from, let me see what the brand was. By Deep Los Angeles. Never heard of it. I titled this one Vintage Y2K Grunge Cap Sleeve Slight Crop Text Graphic Top Size Medium. This one has like that grungy text look that some people are looking for. That cap sleeve is very Y2K. It was a size medium. And this one took 3.5 months to sell, but it did go for $20.50. Back over to Poshmark, this was another Maurice's top. When it comes to the brand Maurice's, I am looking for, I guess, mainly style. Some of the vintage stuff, you know, that's more style based, but even like this top, I don't know that there's a lot of people, there could be, you know, that are looking specifically for the brand Maurice's. I don't know if it's as popular as it once was. I mean, it has to be because there's still stores and they're still making clothing. But this one, I figured even if you weren't a fan of Maurice's, you could potentially like this style because once again, we are kind of looking at that holiday Christmas vibe. So this one I titled Maurice's Burgundy Red Holiday Velvet Burnout Long Sleeve Plus Size Top Size 3X. Maurice's and plus sizes always seem to do pretty well for me. I don't do really the jeans anymore. Tops and dresses is kind of what I stick to, or like blazers or coats. Let's see. So this one took 3 months to sell and it did go for $20. This was a vintage red dress. Let's see who made it. Jonathan Martin. I titled this one Vintage Y2K 90s Red Silk Blend Flower Overlay Asymmetrical Prom Homecoming Dress. This was a size 8. And this one took 1 month to sell and it did go for $25. Over to Mercari, this was a vintage Lucky Brand belt. It was black and leather. It did have like some embossing kind of designs on it. This one only took 2 weeks to sell and it did go for $20. This was a vintage Hilo Hattie. I think I'm saying that right. Hilo Hattie? You guys can let me know in the comments. This one I titled Vintage Hawaiian Vacation Island Print Maxi Tieback Short Sleeve Dress Size Large. This came from that reseller buyout I did over the summer. This one took 3 months to sell and it did go for $24. Back over to Depop, this was a black maxi skirt. It was tiered, it had embroidery, it was a size 1X. I did use keywords like dark boho, cottagecore, prairie, drawstring, embroidered. Let's see. So this one ended up going for $24 in 1 week. This was a black velvet dress. I might have shown this in a haul. I know this came from the bins. I titled this one Vintage 90s Black Velvet Corset Tieback Maxi Modest Goth Grunge Dress Size 14. So this one did have a cool thing where you did lace it up in the back. You didn't see, like, it wasn't a true corset where you saw like your skin on the back, but it did tighten it in the waist. This one went with my 18% off coupon, and let's see, it took 2 months to sell for about $32 plus shipping. Back over to Poshmark, these Converse were in that last shoebox I showed from ThredUp. These took 2 weeks to sell, and they did go for $35. This one actually kind of surprised me. I picked this up at the bins based on the style of it. It was kind of giving like a Western concert type vibes. I titled this Denim Lace Button Front Asymmetrical Western Cottage Plus Size Top 2X 3X. It was new with tags. This one only took 2 weeks to sell for my full asking price of $25. Back over to eBay, this was a Torrid top. I'm just sharing this one because it sold in only 2 weeks, which is kind of unheard of for me with Torrid. But this was one that I did specifically look up the comps on because I was originally going to send it to ThredUp. This one was a Torrid Emma Baby Doll Chalice Houndstooth Plaid Sleeveless Tunic Top size 4X. So I don't know if it was just like the size with the style that did well. It kind of had like a rainbow plaid look to it. This one, like I said, sold in 2 weeks for $18. Still on eBay, this was a men's aloe workout top. I did look up comps on this just because I didn't know like men's aloe, how it was doing. It looked pretty good. This sold very quickly in 1 week for $22.96. Back over to Poshmark, these Madewell jeans I know I showed in a haul. They were the perfect vintage wide leg crop in a size 30 tall. These took 3 weeks to sell for $40. Another bundle, this was a Notations mixed animal print button down, a Lane Bryant like black lace trimmed like little tank top, and then a short black and white Y2K kind of abstract floral dress. So 3 of these items, I know these all came from the bins, and this went for $59. The last item I'm showing you guys this week, this one was picked up at the bins. I was surprised that it was just sitting there. This was Oscar de la Renta ivory cream satin lace long sleeve mini nightgown, a size extra large. This was definitely modern. This one took 2 weeks to sell, and it did go for my 18% off, so they ended up getting it for about $23 plus shipping. So this week's question, I thought I would kind of open it up for people to put out money saving tips that they have. I know right now in America, things are crazy. People are, definitely feeling prices going up everywhere. There's food insecurity. So I thought it would be a good idea to maybe put in how you're currently budgeting. Is there any tips you have on money saving things? Maybe like super cheap meal ideas. I'll give a couple examples on how I am saving money. I am very, very, very cheap. Like I don't really spend full price on anything unless it's like an absolute necessity. So one of my big pieces of advice or ways to save money when you are grocery shopping, if you are somebody that doesn't really cook, that is like a number one way that you can save money. If you're buying things that are pre-made, you're paying for that convenience of it. So if you have time, I know not everybody has time to cook, big meals every single night of the week. So what I like to do is on Sundays or days that are a little bit slower, I will do meal prepping. So if I have a bunch of vegetables to cut up, I will cook them, freeze them, just have them in my fridge to eat. You can also, make bigger batches of meals that you are having and then like cut it in half and freeze that. And that will be a meal for a different night. You can, like if you have kids and they like the little individual packets, instead of paying for that convenience that they're all in their own little bag, buy it in a bigger one and just reuse smaller bags or smaller containers. That doesn't take too much time to kind of prep. If you have some time in your week that you're able to, get ahead of the game, that can really, help you with not spending so much for the convenience of those other items. And along with that, if you have, the opportunity to buy something in bulk, you are normally getting a better deal. Just make sure it's something that you're going to use. You don't want to, spend a bunch of money on something that you only need a little bit for and you're probably never going to use it again. Something else that I have been kind of incorporating in my life, I am trying to make more things at home than purchase them. So we've started making our own bread. My boyfriend got into like sourdough bread making during COVID. He hasn't really done it since then. So we're trying to kind of learn that whole world of bread making, I guess you can say. So that's been kind of fun. Also, I've been making like little mini muffins for the morning. Those can be pretty expensive if you buy them pre-made in those little packets and they're full of, sugar, preservatives, whatever. And then I've been trying to add in things that maybe make it a little bit healthier, make it a little bit more bulkier. Like I just made banana nut ones, and then I put ground flaxseed in it and then some protein powder. So I'm adding, a little bit more things that are healthier for me. And it's kind of becoming like a little hobby and trying to figure out what we do eat that's already pre-made that maybe we can, scale back and make it ourselves and freeze it. If you are somebody that has a Woodman's in your area, I always go and look to see what they have for their vegetables that are on sale. I'm assuming they do it everywhere. They could do it at other grocery stores, but this is the only place I've seen somebody do this. They have people going through the produce. Anything that looks like it's probably starting to go bad, they throw them in these bags and it's $1. I think it's 99 cents for whatever's in the bag. A lot of times it's still, nothing has been like rotten to the point that you can't eat it. Maybe like on a pepper, there's a small little spot you could cut off. But when I go through and I look for that stuff, like if we get tomatoes, I will blend those up and make something that I can freeze. So maybe like pasta sauce, Salsa's a little bit harder because that you'd have to eat like right away. If they are onions or peppers or anything like that, I dice them up, cook them, and then freeze them, and that's easy to put in fajitas or a casserole or tacos or anything like that. So definitely look for those deals. Same thing with meat, you can freeze that. So look for that kind of stuff that you can save, money because it's going bad, but it's completely fine to cook it and freeze it. Unless it's rotten, then obviously I wouldn't be buying it. I wouldn't imagine that the stores are selling that. So those are a couple of my little tips for grocery shopping to spend less and just try to make more things at home as opposed to, buying pre-made, going out to eat. That's another thing. I could go on for probably hours about this, but I also am somebody that makes like a meal plan for the week. That it just helps with everything because then it doesn't come down to, 2 hours before you need to eat or an hour before you need to eat and nobody knows what they want and then you end up ordering pizza or something. So if you have a plan, then you're more than likely going to get groceries for just that. So you're not adding additional things. Everything should get used that you buy for those meals and you kind of have an easier way to budget. But that is just kind of how I do it. Please let me know your money saving tips below. It doesn't even have to just be revolving around like food or meal prep or anything. It could be, I don't know, it could be anything on how you can save money. I'm excited to hopefully read some that you guys put below. And as always, if you guys enjoyed today's video, please make sure to give it a like. It really helps out the channel and I really appreciate it. I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.